Back here on HQ Spotlight. So some folks are wondering if Brian Callahan doesn't know what a catch is, because we know that one elbow does equal 2 feet, and that was the catch in the Titans-Broncos game. And there was no challenge, so it should have been a catch, a game where the Titans lost by 8 points in Cam Ward's NFL debut. And that play, had it been overturned, could have changed the outcome of the entire game. So here's head coach Brian Callahan. We have 2 different bites, one from Monday, and then we fast forward, or from Sunday and Monday, kind of explaining his thought process behind not challenging the call.
Yeah, you got to get a foot in bounds too, which we didn't have a clean look at whether his foot was down as well. An elbow doesn't equal 2 feet, so his foot would have had to come down as well. We didn't have a clean look, so the call from upstairs was that it wasn't worth challenging. I think I got a little more clarity on it now at this point. At the end of the day, those things happen really fast, and then you're starting to get ready for the next play call, and you're waiting on information from what the look looks like. And look, I misspoke on it after the game, and I'll own that. I'm aware of the rules. I understand the rules. Just, again, a mistake that I made that I gotta correct, just like I'd ask our players to.
All right. He said, I know the rules, but he also said an elbow doesn't equal 2 feet on Sunday. That was a direct quote. So we do want to get a front office perspective from Amy Trask, former CEO of the Raiders. Amy, thank you so much for joining us. How kind of insane is that we're listening to a head coach seemingly not know the rules of the game? And then, of course, he corrects himself. We heard that on Monday, but it's still kind of crazy and bizarre, right?
Mind-boggling. It is absolutely inexcusable for a team to lose a game because either the head coach or others on staff don't know the rules or don't correctly interpret rules. Now, Brian may have been covering for others on staff upstairs or on the sideline when he said he didn't know the rule. Ultimately, however, he is the head coach, and it is his responsibility to know the rules. Now, here's what happens during a game. The coach is on the sideline. He's doing umpteen different things, but there are coaches and other staff upstairs in the coach's box. They have full access. They're in their ears of the head coach and others on the sideline. There are others on the sideline who can run over to the head coach. It is just mind-boggling. No, I'm sorry. It's mind-blowing to me. Like my brain would explode to lose a game because you don't understand or correctly interpret the rules. Look, if you lose a game because you don't, your matchups don't work, or you don't have depth on your roster, or you have injuries, okay, fair enough, that happens. But losing a game because you don't understand the rules is simply not okay. And by the way, the same thing applies to not understanding situational football. That should never be an excuse either.
All right. I mean, I agree with you. And again, it's not like it was a blowout, right? Like, it was a close game. It was an 8-point game. One play or one misstep can really cost you that. So I want to talk about a team that is in a very, very different situation. It is the Packers. They're 2-0 after beating the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. Unfortunately, though, for Green Bay, their wideout Jayden Reed broke his collarbone. He's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. So how do you handle that, losing a skilled player, somebody who was that big portion of the offense for a good chunk of the season? What is next for Green Bay, and how do they move forward?
Look, we all understand that injuries happen, and as you just noted, in this instance, it was to a player with a very significant player with a significant role important to Green Bay. And how a team responds will depend on the significance of the player, the extent of the injury, how long it will be until the player can come back, and where you are in the season. In this instance, it's a big injury, it's a big deal. And, not a lot of people know this, but when you have an injury on your team, and it is an injury that you all immediately understand is significant and going to take time to recover from, you start looking for substitute players quite often during that game. So an injury will happen when you learn upstairs that it's a significant injury and recovery will take a while. Teams start making calls during the game to other teams about possible trades. They start calling agents during the game about free agents. I don't know if Green Bay did that or not, but it is not infrequent that teams do that. There's also the personal side of this. Players are not commodities. They're human beings. Players are often in tears when an injury of this nature occurs. And one thing the team does from a business perspective is reach out immediately to that player's significant other, whether that significant other is a spouse, a partner, a parent. And if that person is in stadium, you send someone over to grab them and bring them down to the locker room so they can be with their relative who is injured.
Yeah, and Amy, that is where my mind goes every time I see one of these injuries. I'm like, oh my God, their mom, their wife, their anything. Like that's the first place I go, because it's got to be so difficult watching someone that you love. They're people, right? They're human beings, go through that. We always love talking about the Raiders with you. And Pete Carroll, 73 years young, the oldest coach in the league, but we wouldn't know it, man. He has got energy for days. And the Raiders start 1-0 in this Geno Smith, Pete Carroll era. So what were your biggest takeaways for the Raiders and how they're starting off this season?
Well, at the time that Pete was hired, I said, I love the hire. At the time they signed Geno, I said, I love the signing. At the time they drafted Ashton, I said, I love the draft pick. And during the game, I thought, I'm going to double down on that. I'm going to triple down on that. What a great start to the season. Geno threw for over 360 yards. The defense had 4 sacks, which brings to mind something Al Davis said throughout my career, which is the quarterback must go down and he must go down hard. It was a terrific way to start Pete's career. And by the way, let me let you in on a little secret. I don't know if anyone knows this, but for Raider fans to do that in New England, there's some special significance to that.
And Amy, a lot of our analysts in the offseason, you know, of course, it's the AFC West and that runs through the Chiefs, right? And our analysts are kind of split, like, hey, it's the Chargers that could really push them here. Some were high on the Raiders too. Do you think this could be the year with Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, this incredible team that we've seen so far? Do you think it's their time to maybe kind of surpass the Chiefs in the division?
It can be, and I'll throw the Broncos in there as well. Yes, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and, you know, the saying, if you come for the king, you best not miss. But, you know, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They have every opportunity with Andy and Patrick to win again. The Chargers with Justin and Jim, the Broncos with Sean and Bo, and the Raiders with Pete and Geno. 4 terrific head coaches in the same division. I think this division's up for grabs.
And that's insane. I'm so looking forward to seeing how that all plays out. Finally, Amy, we know Sports Illustrated just published a piece on Roger Goodell. And a little fun fact, you and Roger started in the league at the same time, both as interns, which is so interesting. Tell us more about that and his journey, right, from going to an intern to where he is now.
Well, I'm smiling ear to ear as you say that, because you are, of course, the journalist and reporter you are. You're absolutely right. We started at roughly the same time. We both started as interns, and I worked with Roger extensively throughout my career. You know, there were times during my career, during Roger's career, that the league and the Raiders were at odds. There were times that dispute or those disputes were being hashed out in court. At times they weren't. But it didn't matter whether the Raiders and the league were at odds. Roger and I worked collaboratively, and I want to underscore that about Roger. He worked with me collaboratively. Did we always agree? No. But when we disagreed, we did so agreeably, and we found ways to compromise, and we found ways to solve problems together, and I give Roger tremendous credit for that. I did, however, I will admit this on air, I did, however, once threaten to kick him out of my car on the side of the road. He came to Los Angeles to join me for some meetings. We were at the Coliseum, driving back to the Raider offices. I get a phone call that the league has started another fight with us. They've picked another fight. So I swerve over to the side of the road. We're in my little 2-seater convertible. I said, get out. And he looked at me. I'm like, Roger, get out. Get out. And I reached across and I opened the door. And then I started laughing and said, okay, you don't have to get out. But I do want to go on record as saying I did threaten to make Roger get out of my car on the side of the road in kind of a sketchy area. But all teasing about that aside, I thoroughly enjoyed working with Roger. As I said, it was a collaborative relationship. And when we disagreed, we did so agreeably.
If Amy Trask is telling me to get out of her car, I don't care where I'm at. I'm getting out and I'm going to walk. If it's 5 miles, 10 miles, you're not messing around. We know that. Amy, we certainly appreciate it.
You should have seen his face.
I can't imagine.
Get out. Get out.
We appreciate it, Amy. It's always great to chat with you about the Raiders and everything that's happening in the NFL. Speaking of the NFL, make sure you stay locked into CBS Sports HQ for our game day recap. Sundays, 8:30 Eastern. Damian Harris, Haley Sutton, Rand Carthon, and our very own Pete Prisco. Sundays, 8:30 on CBS Sports HQ.